Yo! So as a lot of you know, I am currently going through One Piece, and at the moment of this recording, I have just uploaded my Sabaody Archipelago review, and very soon I will be doing the Impel Down, Marineford, and Return to Sabaody arc review. That shit's gonna be like an hour and 30 minutes, by the way. So stay tuned for that. That's gonna be coming soon. So as I'm going through my One Piece journey, one arc that specifically stuck with me that I've wanted to cover in depth was the Skypiea arc. Now, I really enjoyed the Skypiea arc. I know a lot of people didn't. I definitely feel that Skypiea has this average One Piece problem where the beginning of the arc is very weak and it doesn't really get some gas going until the middle. But as soon as Enel gets introduced, I feel like the story ramps up and I feel like actually it's in a much better spot. But for today's video, I don't want to necessarily talk about all the action and necessarily some of the set pieces revolving around Skypiea. I really want to talk about the religious symbolism that was being highlighted in that arc, and I want to kind of sit down and break down with some of that with you guys. I feel like it'd be a very interesting topic to go over. So also, before we get too deep into this video, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe. We are on our way to 20,000 subscribers, and I would love to have you around. If you want to be a bigger part of the community, please make sure you leave a like down in the Discord below. Like goal, let's say 500. Like goal 500. Let's do it. Now, before we get to the actual breakdown, there are a couple of things that we need to kind of get out of the way to lay the groundwork we're going to discuss here. So I'm going to briefly go over the Shandians backstory before we actually move on to Enel himself. So bear with me. So the Shandians were a part of the Shandora civilization, which is an ancient, proud people, and they lived in the Blue Sea before they were shot up into the sky. And as we can pretty much infer, they are supposed to represent Native Americans. Now, you also have the Skypians, and the Skypians felt that the Earth that was launched into the sky, they feel like that is theirs. They feel like it's God's gift to them, so they feel like they should own it. Now, obviously, this goes into themes of colonization. Now, if you know anything about your history, you know that whenever religion is introduced to any sort of people, whenever it comes to things that they feel is theirs, wars break out, people are dying. We even still have stuff like this that are happening to this day right now. So as far as this goes, I think it is very timely, and this isn't necessarily a reflection of the times. This has always been happening. This goes as far as back as the Crusades, goes as far as the Pilgrims. It goes on and on and on and on and on. If you go to any sort of religion, there are constantly stories, people trying to go and spread the gospel and things like that. Now, when Nolan encounters the Shandians, he initially calls their religion barbaric, and what he is referring to is he's referring to the ritualistic killing that is taking place. Now, originally when I made my review, I thought, oh, was Oda being, you know, a bit insensitive, because obviously cultures like this, when it comes to like sacrifice and things like that, it's not as prevalent nowadays. But I think the overall message here was trying to sell this idea that, you know, life is, while imperfect, it's still valuable. It is still very sacred in a sense. So when it comes to worshiping a god that takes in sacrifices, so like I need to kill one of my own daughter to appease this god, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right to me either, and I'm sure that's what the message Oda is trying to say either. So I think that Oda handled it with tact. But again, there are very rarely any religions nowadays that call for human sacrifices besides, you know, cults and things of that nature. But, you know, we're in the 24th century. 25th century? What century are we in? 21st. 21st. Dude, oh my God. I don't... So then we come to Eneru, or Enel in the Viz translation, who claims to be a literal god. And when it comes to themes of false idolatry, there are items everywhere that you can look in different religious texts that speak on false idols. So for example, Exodus 23:5 in the Bible says, "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them." So this right here is a direct condemnation of false idols. And if you notice, whenever it comes to Enel, people don't pray to Enel for, you know, rain. They don't pray to Enel for provision or anything like that. It's always about acts of mercy and please spare us. Now, so if depending who you ask, this is how like Old Testament God was moving. But again, it's, you know, this is depending who you ask, and this is also different denominations within the church as well. Because obviously, as we know, Old Testament God, I mean. he was moving, bro. I mean, taking women, taking children, like literally told Abraham, "Hey, bro, kill your son for me." Nah, I'm just playing. At the very end, he was literally about to do it. That's kind of... Enel's godhood is self-declared, and before he arrived, the Shandians didn't necessarily see him as that. And this directly goes with different authoritarian figures that we see in the modern day, who even the modern church, they indirectly commit acts of adultery. If you look at some of these mega churches and how they operate, there is a certain person who they write songs about, they talk about in their, you know, large prayers, who this person that I'm referring to is not great, not doing a lot of great things for America at the current moment. Literal idolatry that we're seeing firsthand, and it's kind of scary that people don't talk about it as much. But as we see in Skypiea, the title of God is just a position passed on through strength, not spiritual legitimacy, which is unfortunate. And so because the Skypians are essentially powerless and they have no way to actually remove Enel from his position of power, they don't have devil fruits themselves, they're just regular people. They are forced into this dogmatic faith, and they just are forced to believe what they're supposed to believe because they have no other alternative. They cannot do anything else. But again, the Shandians, they are waging this holy war over their lost land. So we have just more religious conflict. Now, in my personal opinion, I think Oda is playing it very well here, because we know that in the story of One Piece, neither of these people are right. Like, neither of these folks are right. They believe it in themselves. But if you look at something like the Crusades, like, there was so much going on over over one country that these people felt was incorrect. It was insane. Now, specifically when I talk about the Crusades, I'm not saying that either side was right nor wrong, but it's just the amount of intense emotions that occur over another piece of land. Like, we have another piece of land over here, another piece of land over here. We are all people on Earth. But for some reason, when it comes to religion, we choose to fight and bicker with each other over who has this plot of land, who has this plot of land. We were here first. No, we were here first. No, this document says that we have it. This document says that we own it. That is insane. That is crazy. But Enel's downfall comes from the fact that his worship was built on fear and lies and not love and wisdom. Now, actually, when it comes to this, there's a specific religious text that actually touches on this. The Bhagavad Gita, excuse me if I pronounced that incorrectly, 720. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods. Now, this specifically is referring to blind faith emerging from desire, fear, and ignorance, because they feel like, oh, this is the thing that is provisional in my time currently. This is the only thing that's sustaining us. Now, when the battle against Enel was raging on, we actually see the Skypians praying to a god. They don't necessarily know who they're praying to, but they're praying to anybody, any god that is listening right now, most likely a monotheistic god, so just, you know, one singular as opposed to polytheistic, which is plural. They're praying to a god to protect Luffy as well as either Straw Hats. They are praying for safety, for mercy, to keep them safe, as opposed to actually, please don't hurt me and my family. They're actually saying, no, please protect these people. They're praying out of love, out of admiration, which is very cool, and that's moved me a whole lot upon my initial read. Skypiea literally is like a heaven. It literally, you know, resides in the sky. Now, the Ark Maxim, which is Enel's floating ship, is his vehicle to reach, you know, the Earth, and it's basically his ark and his twisted form of like rapture or ascension, right? In different religious texts, you have the rapture, you have the coming of the last times in the Bible, and all these things, and all souls on earth will, you know, be judged before God, and people go to hell, people go to heaven. It just depends how you live your life. But Enel is seeking to exact that himself, because he does, again, see himself as a deity. He sees himself as judge, jury, and executioner, which is an apocalyptic act in and of itself. And the apocalyptic act is highlighted by just how crazy the sky looks in Skypiea. It's turning dark. It's this big circle in the air. It's like it's a Frieza death ball that's forming above Skypiea, but about to just nuke the shit out of everybody. Again, another passage when it comes to false idols is in the Quran 21:98 through 99. Indeed, you and what you worship besides Allah are the firewood of hell. And then you have this religious object, the Shandians' bell, and when the bell is rung by Luffy, it breaks Enel's lie. And that lie, when it shatters, it signals this truth that, hey, like, this who you are worshiping, this is not worth your time. This is not worth your emotional investment in. This man is nothing. There is no substance within him. He's not providing you with provisions. He's not answering your prayers. He's not healing the sick. He's not doing any of this. He's just satiating his own ego and greed. In Isaiah 44:9-10, all who make idols are nothing. Who shapes a god and casts an idol which can profit nothing? And this talks about, constructed divinity. Enel was a wicked villain for Skypiea, and I absolutely just love the symbolic motifs behind this. I mean, lightning in different religious texts is seen as literal divine wrath. The bell of Shandora, it's a sacred memory representing heritage and ultimate truth. Upper Yard is a paradise lost. It's a battleground for spiritual reclamation and themes of colonization in the name of religion. And then the Arc Maxim being a metaphor for divine illusion, literally having Enel's face on it, engaging in an artificial rapture. This moves me, right? So before I end off this video, there's 5 questions I want to ask you guys in the comments, and feel free to discuss this in the comments. Obviously, just keep it respectful, but there's 5 things I wanted to ask for you guys personally. Number 1, what does it mean to be a god in One Piece? Now, in One Piece, you have your 4 emperors who could be worshipped as gods, depending on who you ask, if you're just an average person, because of just how strong they are. Some folks could say Whitebeard could be considered a god in One Piece because of his sheer amount of strength, the message that he was representing, saying the One Piece is real, and confirming to all those who were doubting, like, what the hell are we fighting for in Marineford? Whitebeard literally ushered in the new age of pirates. So could it be strength, or could it be something more? I mean, we know our boy Zoro doesn't necessarily pray to any god, and as far as I know, there has been no other mention of any religion going on within One Piece. So what does it mean to be a god in One Piece? I don't know. The second is Enel a critique of religious tyranny or false prophets? Now, my answer is both. I think it's a very big 50-50 split. I don't necessarily think that Oda, when he was writing this, leaned one way or towards another. I think he was tackling both issues. I think he did handle them well. But I'm very curious to see what you guys think. Number 3, how does Skypiea reflect religious colonization and historical erasure? Now, as we know, when America was first colonized, it was not a pretty sight. And the Native American people, they still have not recovered fully, and they most likely never will, which is really unfortunate. I mean, we decimated the buffalo population, and the atrocities that America committed against those people obviously One Piece didn't get that dark, but when it comes to historical erasure, I definitely think that Oda tackled it as well as he pretty much could have. Number 4, now why was Luffy's irreverence or indifference towards godhood, is that a spiritual stance of its own? Now, you have people who are agnostic, you have people that are atheist, and sometimes people find strength in being agnostic rather than just outright saying there is no God. Sometimes when there are people that are agnostic and they look at the world around them, they say, I don't necessarily believe in any of these religions. They might just seem as a bunch of rules, and they might just seem as ways to control people. Again, depending who you ask, some people feel that it is better for them to look at their own morals and values and find comfort in trying to be a better person rather than having some outside figure telling them, as opposed to following a strict set of rules and guidelines through a historical text. So is that a spiritual stance of its own, or is it just him doing him? You tell me. Is the Bell of Shandora a symbol of faith, or is it just an ancestral reminder of what your people endured and went through? Again, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think and how One Piece handled religious themes within Skypiea. I'm very curious to see what you guys say. But yeah, it's me, boy Dab, you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this video. I know it's kind of all over the place with this video. My notes were just kind of like scattered, but I definitely think that I enjoyed making this video and I had a really good time with it. So if you guys want more videos like this, please let me know down in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, join the Discord if you want to have a good time. 500 likes. What is that? Did I say 500? I think I said 500 likes. I don't remember. Okay, bye.